Greetings, Eunice. We'll get started shortly. Greetings, Ashley.
Ankhlife, Abounu.
Alafia. How's your day?
Doing well, doing okay. How about you?
Good for me, good for me. I'm pulling up the audio and everything is fine. I'm queued and ready to go. However, you know how my internet is. So at some point, if need be, I may send it over to you. Or are you at a place where you could play audio or no?
I am, but I'm not sure that I'm set up to be able to do that. So it would be me playing it from the phone, which I can do.
Okay. All right. Well, let's just hope we have divine flow today.
Right.
All right. I'm gonna give it a couple minutes and then I'll jump back on.
Okay.
Well, welcome everyone to the Divine Feminine Podcast monthly discussion. Here in the monthly discussion, we go over the podcast. I am Priestess Haneera Abounu, coming to you live from Benin. Let me put my video on. Let's see how we are there. Hello, guys. Coming live from Benin. Today is Saturday, October 30th. You guys are probably getting ready for Halloween. Why? In the colonial or capitalistic sense, I have no clue, but some of you are. You know, ancestor veneration, I'm all for. But the capitalism that we do, buying everything up, costumes, candy, parties, all of those things, it's too much. It's just a useless way to get your money. That's all it is. But anyway, I could go on and on about that. Welcome everyone. Welcome Ashley. Welcome Eunice. Welcome everyone that's coming. Everyone that's here. We're today going to do. I have it here. We're going to start a cool series, actually, communal living, which is excellent. I like that episode. Episode 7. Okay, bam. Good. Episode 7. Let me get back to the call. There we go. is what we're going to listen to today. And with that, I'll give it over to Ashley so she can say any and everything she wants to say, and then we'll start the podcast. Ashley, you're muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, how you doing?
Ashley.
Hey.
Hi, hello, Ashton. How are you?
I went outside and about froze out here.
It is cold, huh?
Okay.
Cold. I went outside in a sleeveless shirt, so I said, well, it's cold.
Okay, good. Welcome, Ashton. Welcome to the call. Right now, we're just kind of preparing. So Ashley's going to do the intro. Everyone else, if you can mute your line.
Okay.
Until we get to the questions and answer portion, or after Ashley goes, if you guys have anything to say quickly, checking in with everyone. But go ahead, Ashley.
Okay. So, hi, I'm Ashley Johnson. I am out of Houston, Texas. I have been on a spiritual walk for about 1.5 years and listening to the podcast. With working with Priestess Haneera Abounu, understanding the podcast and understanding the message that it brings. She started this podcast discussion to really bring about a community, a sisterhood, and discuss, some of the difficult or just things that we go through in life, and have a support system. So these podcasts have been a great support, a great learning tool, and we hope that you are able to bring some type of question or some type of discussion that will really help some of the sisters in our community. This podcast happens once a month on the last Saturday of each month. And each time we'll go through a new podcast. So this podcast is communal living. This is a series. And in this series, we talk, Priestess Haneera talks about what communal living is and why it's important to our tradition, our African tradition. And she gives some clues as to, or some more explanations as to how we can form, those type of bonds in our own sisterhood. So right now, what we'll do is we'll listen to the podcast in full together, and that will take about an hour. And then in the next hour, we'll have an open for discussion for any questions. And Priestess Haneera may expound on some topics as well. If you have any questions throughout the podcast, please feel free to make a message on the notes or in the comment section. And that's another way that we can go through as well. Okay. So if
I can't write very well, so my machine doesn't work on this platform. I have a machine that types words and it doesn't compute with this. So just bear with me. I'll ask questions maybe later because I can't write and my boyfriend's not here to type anything.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you. I appreciate
I'll be looking at the WhatsApp group. So I don't know if that works better for you to put questions in, because we can do that as well.
Okay, that'll work. Thank you.
Okay, greetings, everyone. I'm just screen sharing. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yes.
Let me just pull it up here. Okay. Let me see how this comes in. There we go.
Divine Feminine Family, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's an easy way to start your podcast. It's free, and there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast straight from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so that it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can also make money with your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one convenient place. Download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started. Where I am your host, Priestess Haneera Abounu. Here I support women in learning and applying the divine feminine principles into their lives. We talk about lifestyle, family, culture, and spirituality, all from a traditional African perspective. Welcome to the safe space. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Divine Feminine Podcast. Come on in. How are we in day who knows quarantine? This episode's going to be a little different. I'm going to touch on some areas or topics that can be a little uneasy for people, but I have to speak up and speak my mind and set my position. So just recap last week in episode 6, we talked about the retreat, which was beautiful with the women, and the way the energies and the divinities moved, and that it prepared us for where we are now and the time to come. So what I mean by that is at the retreat, we had divinations and readings done, and we were told to go into 30-day detox. Each woman was given, what they would do, and it was that cleanse was to catapult them into their beginning, to help them restart. And so each woman there was given their own particular charter. It was just a beautiful thing. I've been working with the women since then, and we've started the detox, and it's been a great thing. Opened it up on the internet, so now there's over 30 women all over the country, and you may say, oh, that's a small number, or that's but for me, considering I just wanted to do a cleanse myself, and then it ended up being me and the women at the detox, at the training, and now it's evolved into what it is now. This was never my vision, and so I'm just blessed to know that this is timely, and the women are moving in that direction. And detox is important. It touches on something that we're going to be talking about in the future, and it talks on purification. It touches on purification in that you have to purify your blood, your lungs, your kidneys, all in the detox or cleanse process. That's what you're actually cleansing. You're cleansing the toxins and the impure things out of your organs and out of your body, your blood, so that it can run properly, so that it can heal properly. And some people out there have never done this. They've never done a cleanse. They've never cleaned their blood, and it's time that we start doing that. There's dirtiness in our blood from what we eat, what we drink, smoke, what we ingest in the environment. All of that is put into our blood, and
it cleanses on the physical, but also on the spiritual level, right? Because everything that's seen is also, there's an unseen aspect to that. Remember that everything that you see, there's also an unseen aspect to it. Everything in existence has an unseen aspect to it. So it's important to clean out your organs to help purify yourself, your spiritual self. And you know, some people like to say it's an ascension, it helps you to ascend. But the way I see it as a priest, in keeping your organs clear, it keeps a clear channel of communication between you and your ancestors. It keeps a clear communication between you and the divine world. There's no way that you can clearly give messages out through prayer, lamentation, spell casting, you know, whatever you choose to call it, talking with your ancestors. There's no way you can give messages out. Even the mental messages, the thoughts that we have, we can't invoke any of that with unclear channels. You know, depending on if you want to take it from a science perspective, you could say the frequency. Your frequency is unclear or fuzzy, like listening to a radio station and there's a whole bunch of static in it. And so when the static is there, it's unclear. You can't get good reception. You can't get your messages out. And you also cannot receive messages as well. You know, and so it's important to cleanse the body. Helps keep the immune system high. Helps with weight loss as well. And from a spiritual perspective, again, in doing these cleanses and detox, it benefits your wellness and overall spiritual health and connection with the divine world. So that was last week, episode 6. And like I said, so episode 7, we're talking about that, yes, but I also want to talk on some other relevant topics. So we've been in detox now for 5 days, I believe. We started the 1st of May, and we are full-fledged in the detox. So congratulations to all the women out there who are focusing on their self-care in May. Congratulations to all the women out there who are raising their discipline level up a notch, who are committing to themselves in the month of May to transform, to cleanse, detox, and transform. If you would like to join us, go right ahead. We welcome you. In addition to the eating, we're eating alkaline. Those of you who know me personally, I'm doing more of a liquid fast. This particular liquid cleanse, I should say, this particular month. But most of the women are doing alkaline. But you know, wherever you are in your cleansing process, wherever you feel led or drawn to cleanse, you know, maybe you just want to do sun up and sundown. Maybe you want to give up fried foods and sugar and dairy. You know, anything that you decide to do, make that decision and stick to it, and just have the discipline. Don't be back and forth. Don't be flip-flop. Don't do any of those things. Just make the decision and then do it. But addition to the food, right? Addition to the food, there's other things that we're doing to align ourselves in the detox. We're meditating for at least 30 minutes every day. We're also reading. We're reading, and we're staying away from music with words. We are also abstaining from sex, no sex. And that may, ladies who are married, you have to get permission from your husband for that. In addition to no sex, no music with words, we're also shooting to drink a gallon of water a day. If you can't drink a gallon, as much as you can. As much water as you can. You want to build up and get to as much water as possible. So these are just some of the things. I have the full list on my Instagram, on Facebook. So check it out at Haneera Abounu. If you guys aren't following me, you should be. Just so we can stay connected online. My personal page is Haneera Abounu. Of course, the podcast page is Divine Feminine Podcast. But also, I wanted to add to that, in addition to all of those things, we're also cleaning our blood. Right? So we're cleaning our blood with more than just the restrictions of the food and flushing our system out with water. We're also using blood cleansers. We're using kidney cleansers and liver cleansers, which I have on sale for you guys. If you need any type of cleansers, now these are herbs, natural herbs that have been grown and harvested in Africa and procured and brought to America and put together in a very sacred process. And so these particular herbs focus on the lungs, the kidneys, and the liver. And so that's what the blood cleanser, the kidney cleanser, and liver cleanser is for. And so if you guys need those, you can email me or direct message me, and I'll get all of your information, give you the payment information. The cost is between $60 to $75 for the cleansers. The spiritual bath that we're using, now this is a spiritual cleanser. It's a soap that you can use throughout the whole month to cleanse your aura, to cleanse your star, to cleanse your spiritual field. So this is the unseen. This is your energetic field, your vibrational level, as to speak. So this is a cleanse or soap that helps with that, to neutralize any energies that you have that are weighing you down or low vibrational, and then it helps to raise your vibration or energy field as well. And it also, in addition to that, so that's the first thing it does. In addition to that, it also draws you closer to the Divine Mother. And so anything that you need that is under the realm of the Divine Mother, which everything in existence she is a part of, so there's nothing you could really ask for that she isn't the mother of. But anything you would need from her, you have a way to access her and access it. This is the spiritual soap. You guys forgive me, I'm only drinking liquid, so I'm drinking a lot of water, so it's going to be hard for me to talk this whole time without drinking water. So there may be times in this in this podcast where I'm going to be drinking water, and that'll be for all the podcasts for the whole month of May. So just know that I'm holding true to the things that I'm proposing to the women and to those who accompany or follow me on this journey. I don't just talk it, I walk it as well. But yes, so the spiritual soap, if you'd like that, along with the other cleansers, the spiritual soap is $100. And that should last you, depending on how you use soap, that should last you for most of the month. I will give directions on the soap. It is a soap that you use. You use it once a day. You do not use it at night. So you want to take your baths during the day. You want to make sure that when you wake up in the morning, you don't talk to anyone. You go, do your personal hygiene, brush your teeth, wash your face, and then you take your shower. It is in that shower that you use your spiritual soap. And it's in that shower that you begin to speak to the Divine Mother and give your wishes. And so that is the process that you go through when using this particular soap. It's very magical, very, very powerful, and it needs to be used appropriately in the appropriate context. And so that is that's the way you use that soap, and you'll start to see things change and evolve in your life. And so we're using all of these things to really catapult us into June and the next phase of our lives. So I'm excited for all the women who are embarking on this journey and are courageous enough to move forward and answer the call in their destinies and bring their discipline levels to a new high. So congratulations to all the ladies. In addition to that, I wanted to touch on some topics I don't normally touch on at the show. But the climate of society right now is such to where I feel led to speak on what's going on, right? Those of you who follow me, those of you who check out my page and know me know I've spoke in depth about COVID-19 and its effect on the world and the underlying issues. And I think at this point, we're in May, we're all starting to see what people like myself and other people have been saying since, the very beginning. Yes, there is a shift. So we understand the big picture, right? The big picture is there's a shift. The shift has happened. And this shift is allowing for traditional people and the people who take care of the earth and align themselves with nature to rise. And so in order to do that, in order for that to happen, all of these things we see are happening. So we start with COVID-19. And so now we get down to some of the macro or smaller cycles and things that are happening. So we understand on a big picture, big level, what's going on, right? And that's good for us to keep perspective. And so we know that we have to move to a healthier lifestyle. We know that we have to align ourselves with nature and more than just our eating habits. Right now, we're focused on our eating habits because of COVID-19, and people are dying at alarming rates and getting sick at alarming rates because of their susceptibility to this particular virus. And so this is what's on everyone's mind. But keep in mind, you will have to align yourself with nature in more ways than just your diet in order to survive in the future. And what do I mean by that? I mean that, yes, nature provides natural remedies for food. Nature provides natural remedies to boost your immune system. And those are the things that we're looking to now. But one of the things that we're also faced with is our economy. Our economy and how the government with this virus has been able to shut down our society. And there's many people out of work. There's many people who don't have a way to take care of themselves. Government aid, I personally don't subscribe to any of that, but it's all up to the individual. But even if you do receive the government aid and the stimulus money, guess what? It's not enough to take care of you and your family. This change, this shift is changing the way we live. And so even in thinking about the economics in our economy and moving forward and how we're going to live, we will also have to look to nature and traditional ways for living. So what do I mean by that? Right? What do I mean by that? So I mean, in order to survive, we will have to look to traditions and look to nature, the original way for our family structure, the original way for our housing structure, the original way, how did our ancestors take care of themselves? We're going to have to look to nature for more than just natural remedies on eating and boosting our immune system. Right now, and what do I mean? But I'm going to give you some examples. Right now, with our economy the way it is, so many people are out of work. It would be ideal, and this is my suggestion and my recommendation, for the women, right? Because I'm speaking to the women, right? This is our platform where we talk about love, life, culture, spirituality, all from a traditional perspective. And so as women, we have to start putting our minds around how do we survive and how do our families survive during this time. Most people in the Black community are out of work. If you're not a government worker, if you're not a medical worker, or someone who's considered essential, you're out of work right now, which means you are in a process where you can reinvent yourself. And so what do we have to do? We have to combine forces, right? In order for our families and for our society to survive, we need to go back to traditional ways. Traditional ways. What are traditional ways for living and supporting ourselves? Traditional ways are communal ways. We live traditionally in nature. We group together in villages. Our families come together. When you go into the forests and into some of the rural areas, you don't see human beings living isolated by themselves. You cannot live isolated in nature by yourself. You can't do it for long periods of time. You need other human beings around you because there's too much to do in nature for one human being, right? And so you share the responsibility together. Everyone can't go hunting all day. If someone's hunting, looking for food all day, then who's at the house, or at the campsite washing the clothes? If someone's washing the clothes all day, then who is taking care of the children? Who is doing the other tasks that needs to be done, the building or the reconstruction of the hut, or who is grinding the food that was made or brought the other day? Like, there's so many components and jobs that need to be done to hold a family together in nature, that you have to come together. That is the reason we come together, to support and to help one another towards the common goal of survival. And so you have families that live together, and even within the families, different families come together and build villages together. And each family has a certain thing that they specialize in. Well, this particular family, they grow wheat. Or this particular family, they are fishermen. Or this particular family, they are blacksmith. Or this particular family is a family of priests. Every family in the village has its specialty, and not one family is more important than the other. So what am I saying, and how does that apply to the world in which we live in today? All right. So what I'm proposing is that as women, we come together and connect our families together with other people. And I prefer it to be family, right? So what this society tells us, let me just explain my point further. So what this society tells us is that, at 18, you should move out and get your own place. And you should live alone. And you should have all this room and space. That's how you gain your independence. That's how you gain your freedom from your parents. And they build this whole image or facade. You need to move away. You don't need your family anymore. You don't need anyone, actually. You need to go out into the world and conquer and create your own. And so you have a whole society full of people who don't live together. We don't depend on each other. Most of us live alone until we start building families, right? Single women out there, you live alone, right? In this day and age, depending on where you are, certain parts of the city where it's really costly to live, they've started maybe roommating. They've started campus living, so to speak. Outside of college, people are still doing the campus living. And what is that? That's communal living. That's communal living. Communal living is the way we live traditionally. We live communally. We live together. So what am I proposing to the women specifically? I'm proposing that during this time, we have to strategize on the best ways to help our families thrive, to help ourselves thrive. And communal living is a strategy. Communal living is a strategy. Now, I would suggest proper communal living. You need to have 3 generations in the same home. 3 generations in the same home. So you have you You have an elder above you, and you have the children below you. You have you, an elder above you, and children below you. If you are the elder, then you have some young people and their children below you. If you are the elder, then you have young people and their children below you. In the household, you need to have 3 generations. This is the way we live communally, traditionally, and we need to look to nature's model in order to do that. And each level in the family holds a different place, right? Each level in the family holds a different place. Okay? You have the elder, whether it's male, female. The elder comes with wisdom. The elder comes with insight. The elder comes with experience. Most elders, they have some type of financial contribution, right? Because they've worked their whole lives, and hopefully they've saved or have a retirement, they have a pension, they have interest from real estate, they have some type of income. Whether it's great or small, they have some type of income to contribute to the household. Although the elder would not be working, the elder would be home, right? So you have someone home in the household, okay, giving wisdom and guidance. The elder has a level of patience. The elder can oversee and give feedback over the household and how it's running. The elder can support and help with the children, with the grandchildren, with the younger children, help them, guide them in their behavior, guide them in their paths, help provide some type of even child care. You know, I wouldn't put the elder as like the primary child care provider in the home. I wouldn't put the elder as the primary educator in the home. However, the elder does have their own wisdom and education that they bestow in the family, and that shouldn't be eliminated. That shouldn't be overlooked. They have a way of doing things that, and they can reach the young people in ways maybe their parents can. So the elder is necessary in the home. And then you have the parents, right? The parents are the ones working. They're the ones going out. Now, there needs to be at least one person in the home in this particular time that is essential. So whether that one person is working for the government, they are a FedEx or Uber driver, they're in the medical field, whoever is essential during this time, you need to have one person attached to this colonial Western system in order to continue to live and survive and pay bills. You have to have that one person, right? So we'll say, for the sake of this example, this is the man, the husband in the house, one of the men in the house, okay? Not necessarily the elder, but one of the men in the house. We'll say the husband, okay? He's connected, and so he goes out, he works every day. We know how this system sucks your energy, so we know when he comes home, he wants to eat and sleep. This system sucks your energy so bad you can't produce anything other than what they pay you to produce. You can't produce your dreams. You can't do anything for yourself. This system sucks us so bad that by the time we're done with our 8, 12, 16-hour day, we are no good to even ourselves. So this particular person, they work and come home. They bring their money that they work in the system, they bring it to the house. So you have the elder who has some resources, but more knowledge, wisdom, patience, and is in the home to help the home, the foundation of the home. You have the man who is an essential worker, has the most income, and is stable in the colonial world to help manage the bills of the household. Okay. Now let's talk about the home itself, the inside of the home. So the inside of the home should be kept by those, we'll say the woman. It should be kept by the woman, right? And the woman or the other person who is at home, that woman is responsible for the cooking, the cleaning, the homeschooling, okay, the shopping, the taking care of the essential worker or the husband, the taking care of the elder. You know, depending on how big the family is, that woman will need help, right? She may need another woman. There may need to be more than just one woman in the house. They may need to have the kids. The kids should be helping anyway, but depending on the age of the children, you know, the children will have to carry some of this burden as well. And in addition to all of that, right, maintaining the household, in addition to maintaining the household, there should also be a family business. So if you are one of the people who is out of work right now, you know, I say you are fortunate enough to be out of work right now. And why do I say you're fortunate enough to be out of work? I say that you're fortunate enough to be out of work because you've been given a 3-month pause, right? In order to set your life on a new trajectory. So that business you've been wanting to open, or that creative talent that you have that you've been wanting to explore, now is the time to launch your business, because this is your intelligence and your gift that your ancestors have been giving you. You guys know I'm a priest, so I will invoke or infuse the spiritual side, you know, in our conversation. And I have to take a moment and do that right here. You know, right here, I would say that some of us who are at home right now, we have the fortunate opportunity to start our businesses, to start expressing the gifts and talents that our ancestors have given us, right? And so if you've been in meditation, you've been speaking to your ancestors, you've been on that path, you know, you set up your altar, you set up that time, you've been searching for what makes you happy, and they've been telling you, giving you ideas, showing you different things, certain ways you are in the future, showing you yourself. And you have all of these ideas, but you haven't been able to fulfill them because, again, When you're working for the system, it sucks you dry. There is no time. You've been trying to work on your business plan. You've been trying to launch these ideas that have been given to you, but you haven't. And so now that you're home, yes, you have an obligation to take care of the house. Yes, you have an obligation to take care and homeschool the children. Yes, you have an obligation to take care of the elders in the community. But you also have an obligation to yourself. You also have an obligation to fulfill, excuse me. You also have an obligation to fulfill the calling and destiny on your life. And so someone should be starting a business, because remember, the goal is to align yourself with nature. And so the goal isn't to stay attached to this colonial system. So eventually we want the home-based business to flourish to where the essential worker doesn't have to work the system anymore. They can support the family business. They can start to receive some type of dividend or payback for all the money and energy that they've given to the family, and that's been taken from them, right? So we need to have some type of family business going and starting and supported, so that eventually it will grow into something that is self-sustaining for the family. Again, everything is for the survival of the group of people that you decide to come together with. You see how that works? So you have the essential worker, you have the person in the home who's taking care of the home. That person may also be the person who is the entrepreneur, right? Or you may have another person in the home that's the entrepreneur, and there's just one person who supports the family, takes care of the family, and maybe supports the entrepreneur here or there, or supports the essential worker. And of course, you have the elder who is helping to oversee and give wisdom over it all. Do you see how this is working? Do you see what I'm saying? And then what do? We reduce the cost of our overhead of expenses by moving together. So we're no longer paying 2 and 3 rents. We're only paying 1 rent. We're reducing our expenses. Okay? You have someone in the home who's responsible for food, for cooking. So now we're not eating out every day. We're not spending $20, $30 a day on food. All that money is going back into the household, saving within the household, because guess what? There's lunches that are packed for those who have to leave the house. For the essential worker, your lunch is packed every day. You have food. For the kids who are home, they're eating the food that is prepared for them. There's no eating out. There's no Postmates. There's no Uber Eats. There's no McDonald's. No, we're cooking our meals at home. And cooking from scratch, cooking is a full-time job when you think about all the people and the responsibilities you have. Yeah, it can be. All 3 meals, that has to be planned out and prepared. Women, we need to get back on our job. You are saving money by preparing your meals at home. In addition, there's no more dry cleaning. We don't need to dry clean. I don't even know if the dry cleaners are even open right now. Are they essential or not? Either way, it's an expense that can be cut, and we bring that into the home. We don't need that. That's something as women we should be taking back and doing. We should be doing our family's laundry. You have the children help you. I don't care how old your children are. If they're old enough to walk and talk, they can help, even if they just carry the detergent. Right? Even if they just help you bring the basket of laundry. The children need to be helping in the household. That's part of what causes women so much stress, is that they're not teaching the kids how to do their chores and to work. The women are taking on all of this responsibility, and they're not asking or teaching the children and bringing them along to help. No, these kids should be helping. When you go to the villages in Africa, when you go back home traditionally, I tell you what, if those kids can walk, they're helping their mother. If those kids can walk, they are helping their mother. Whether it's helping their mother with the chore at hand, or if it's helping their mother with their younger siblings. Yeah, there's a hierarchy to this. You know, we haven't even got into that of how the hierarchy in the family works, and how the children need to behave or answer the hierarchy within the children and the parents. We haven't even talked about that. But there's a hierarchy. These children should be self-governing and taking care of themselves. Right? There should be no running, no tattletelling. There should be no sitting down watching TV and mama has to run around and do everything. No, that's not traditions. Mama has too much to do. You understand that? No. These children have to work. So we need to take a traditional model in order to survive in this next turn, this next phase. And so you have to have the elder, right? You have to have the parents, and you have to have the children. 3 generations, right? The children are the next generation. We need the children. They have the strength. They are the ancestor coming, right? The children are necessary. They give life. They keep the family going. And they are your workforce. They are the ones you teach them, you show them the way, and as they get older, grow older, they will begin to model the parent. They should model the parent and help and be more and more of an asset. Okay? And so all three levels are important in the family, and we need to go back to that. That is the way we will survive in this next age. So it's more than just the detoxing. It's more than just the cleansing and eating natural in order to raise and boost our immune system. It's more than that. We have to look to nature and align ourselves with nature and tradition in other ways, right? And it starts with the household, ladies. We have to figure out how to survive in this next phase. And so that's something for you to consider. That's something for you to consider. And you may say, yeah, it sounds good, but, you know, how does this work? I don't have any family. How does this work? I can't live with nobody else. Well, you know what? That's where the spiritual growth comes in. Because a lot of us have damaged relationships with our families that we need to mend. We have damaged relationships with our family that we need to mend so that this can work. And you say, well, you know, my family's on a different path. They don't accept me in the path that I'm living. Okay, well, guess what? If you don't want to face that, there's other people who are like-minded like you that you can be living with. What does communal living look like for you? That's all I'm saying is, what does it look like for you? How, if it's not 3 generations, then it should at least be 2 generations. It should definitely be 2 generations. What does that look like for you? You have to have someone who is bringing in some stable income, right? And you have to have someone at home. That's necessary. And most times, it'll be a few people at home and the essential worker taking care of the bills. And you can say, well, that's not fair to the essential worker. Guess what? Those people at home should be earning their keep and should be working just as hard. You should be getting your business started, right? We don't have time to waste right now, people. We have to use the gifts and talents that our ancestors have given us, right? We have to fulfill that. We've been given this window to reinvent ourselves, so we need to do it. And we need to do it at the level in which we're at. Okay? And so you're at home, you're working. You're taking care of the children. You're taking care of the house. The house should be clean. The house should definitely be clean. The meals should be made. Food should be cooked. You should be, whoever's at home, that is guaranteed. You said, well, that's a lot of work. I know it is. And in addition to this, we haven't even talked about the food and how we need to start building our own gardens. Do you understand that most of the work is at home? Most of the work is at home. Yeah, the essential worker, they're going out, they're getting a paycheck. But most of the work that needs to be done in this next time will be done in the household. We need to be growing our own food. That's a means of control. If they decide to close these grocery stores, what are you going to do for survival? Instacart? Come on now. We need to be growing our own food. That is absolutely mandatory. We need to be cooking our own meals. Part of the reason we're so unhealthy is because of all the processed foods, fried foods, fatty foods, all the overconsumption of meat, all the dairy. It's the foods that we consume. We need to know what's going into our body, and the only way to control that is to prepare the food ourselves. So we need to prepare lunches for those who are going out to work, because we need them healthy and strong as well. Right? Woman, if you're at home, you are the healer of that house. All the food you make should be medicine. Right? When you make that spaghetti sauce, you should be putting sea moss in your spaghetti sauce. You should be putting all types of herbs and minerals to boost the immune system. That spaghetti sauce should be full of fresh basil and ginger and all, turmeric. It should be filled with all the cayenne pepper. It should have all type of healing herbs. We are the healers of our family. So this isn't an easy task. This is something that we're going to need to work at together. This is something that's going to take time to implement. Okay? But it's something that we can definitely do. So just a quick recap on this podcast before I let you go. We need to turn to nature and more than just our healthy eating and more than just natural eating. We need to look to nature for how they dealt with economics and survival. Specifically in this podcast, we covered communal living and how structuring our family and living situation to fit today's society, what that looks like. Having 3 levels in the household: the elder, the parent, and the child. 3 levels with at least 2 sources of income coming in and at least 1 family business. And all of the products and services that the family needs, we should be producing them internally. Whether it's the food, whether it's laundry, whether it's washing, whether it's education, or growing our own food. As much as possible that we can control and manage in the house, we need to produce it in the home. In addition, we need to have a home-based business. And we understand in the beginning that won't be bringing in any type of income. If anything, it'll be using resources. But we need to start it, and start it now, and get it off the ground. We need to be using the genius that ancestors have given us. So this is just a recap. We'll go into it further a little bit later. Thank you for listening to another good episode of the Divine Feminine Podcast. This is episode 7. We're going to name this one Communal Living. Be well. To schedule a spiritual reading, life coaching session, or to order herbs and tonics, please see our website, divinefeminine.net. If you would like information on our
Okay, wonderful. We have come to the end of the podcast. I'm thankful that everyone was able to hang in there and stay on and be patient in the true traditional African form. So we are appreciative of that. I will say that this was the first time that we had so much discussion in the chat room. So that is really appreciated. I thought it was some good conversations, especially around, I think one point that I brought out of it was there needs maybe to be some discussion on what detox and cleaning your body, your diet, that type of thing, what that really does for you. Mental, spiritual, and physical walk. I did see a lot of conversation about that. So maybe Priestess Haneera will touch on that. And also for me, I had some questions as well about wanting to understand what was the change, why we as African Americans decided not to live communally any longer, and kind of how we get back to that. And some other questions. So I guess I will start on the detox side. I will say for me, detox is very, it's not a challenging thing, but it is a challenging thing to put your mind to it in fasting. But I have seen the benefits of such in my body and in my mind, the clearness of my mind when I am fasting, and the connection that I have with my ancestors when I am fasting. So what that does for me is makes the process of manifestation better. It makes my communication better. It enhances my relationships because I'm more intuitive and more self-reflecting. And so all of these aspects of what detox kind of does for me, just personally, but I will definitely pass it over to Priestess Haneera so she can explain from her expert stance on that part.
Welcome back. Thank you for that introduction after the segue. Let me just first say, I wrote some notes, and I wish you guys could see my paper. At the top of it, I said, apologize for the sound quality. So you guys know we just started the podcast discussion in the summer, and the podcast itself was actually birthed during COVID. So we've been around for about a year and a half now. And so this particular podcast discussion, we're going over episode 7. So I was not even 2 months into doing podcasts. I was fresh, I was new. And I think I was fasting also. So my energy was low. I was in the first 3 days of my my detox. And so, you know, I was belching. There was all kind of things I'm looking at from like a podcast standpoint, and also just like reflection. So forgive the sound quality for that, the belching, all of Sometimes we have to laugh at ourselves. We can't be so still.
Serious.
Right? No, not at all. Not at all. But Ashley, you brought up some good points. So in the beginning, we were talking about the detox and the fast and why it's so important. And Ashton, you were active in the chat today. The chat was on fire. You guys, I don't even know if it records on YouTube. If you guys saw all the chat interaction we were doing, but we're gonna move this a little bit onto the discussion side. So in the chat, there was questions about detox, and also we were talking about detox in the, go ahead.
I have a question because I go to detox and I know that y'all talked about something about cleaning your blood. And I don't know if it's the same thing that my doctor does, but I play athletics and I have played it at the highest level, and they do really extensive stuff, blood work on you and all of that. But the stuff that y'all are talking about, I do not know if this is FDA stuff you can go get, or if your doctor can prescribe this to you. If it is plant-based, you can get these products over here at the Sunflower Shop. I do believe in natural stuff, but question is this stuff that you're talking about and how people clean their blood, is this for athletic reasons or other reasons? Why would you do such a procedure, especially if you're not playing athletics or something where you require exertion? Like me, I do it because of what I do.
Right. Good question. And I have like about, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 answers. I'm excited. So hopefully I answer it all. But the first part is the herbs I was talking about in that particular podcast were blood cleansers. Blood cleansers that come from Africa. And it's herbs that are indigenous to our land here that are used. And so, yeah, and the reason you clean your blood, you have to oxygenate
your blood? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. Oxygenation, where
I need some water.
Oxygen is clean.
Your blood.
Right.
You can't have dirty blood.
Right.
Not for healthy living. And like I was saying, one of the things I was explaining in the chat is that when you live a holistic lifestyle, your lifestyle is based around understanding that everything in existence has 3 parts to it. Even if you're just seeing one part, maybe you're just seeing the physical, my hand, right? But within this hand, within this body, within that apple, within that plant, within that tree, we believe there's 3 aspects to it. You know, there's mind, body, spirit, or there's three aspects to it, right? And so when you do a detox or cleanse your blood or do different types of purifications, it will have a physical, for us is a mental, and also a, let's say, non-material or spiritual effect on you as well, right? And so we cleanse and detox because we're going around in this world picking up things all the time, right? Just like we pick up, say we have a white outfit on, right? We have a white outfit on, it's all white. You know, we can do our best.
I went to Houston and my white outfit looked like dirt. So you right about that. I'm going to tell you, you telling the 100% truth about all this. Here's how I know. Because my doctor told me that they do detox to deal with depression and that they no longer wanted to give the patients medication. So the stuff that you're saying about this stuff about cleansing the blood, it works because I'm 36 years old and I feel 18 and I'm out here running track and field because my doctor's from overseas also. She's from like Arabia and all that other stuff, and they believe in what they call holistic medicine. That being natural, kind of natural is going to be better. Does that make sense? Did this stop?
Yes, no, sorry, you guys lost me for a minute. For those of you who don't know, I'm coming to you live from Africa. I'm overseas. And so sometimes the internet connection is a little unstable. So you guys lost me for a minute, but I'm back. But even in you losing Ashton, I kept up with you. And so it seems the practices that your doctor is using with you are holistic. So even though she is in the modern medical system, she seems to be infusing possibly, some holistic remedies with you. Being an athlete.
She told the medical community. Yeah, because she told my insurance company, I'm with one of the world's largest insurance companies, and they said, if we as an insurance company don't step up to try to help our patients, that's what's costing us money. So companies, because of the pandemic, are telling patients, hey man, go try this natural stuff or go try this because we don't got the money to keep paying 50 grand to put you in a hospital. And so that's something that my doctor and some of the largest insurance companies are telling people. So the stuff that you're saying, you might want to sit on down with your local legislator or somebody dealing with insurance and say, hey, and if you have whatever you're talking about that you sell, you could sell that by the millions out here because people are looking for other options and insurance companies would cut a grant for that. If it's something healthy, the government could cut you a grant for that. I don't know if you're in America, but you might want to make your way this direction because they can cut you money for what you're talking about and pay you under the world's largest insurance companies, what they call their wellness department. And they have a department, seriously, they have a department within Medicare. Anybody get Medicare here? All these older people on Medicare, tell your Medicare office, I have this, and they will cut you a grant for the whatever this stuff is that you're talking about that you have. I don't, put it in the link if you have a website about it, because I'd like to look it up because this stuff could help people in all seriousness with the problems they have, even possibly gout. Do you have something for gout? If that's the case, one of my friends who walked out the door said, I have gout. I'm looking for so-and-so, so-and-so. That's what he just told me. Mm-hmm. Just now, when he left out of here, he said, if you find something that can help me with gout, please let me know.
There's holistic for everything, including
for gout.
Yes, including that too. So what I would do, what your friend needs to do first is to be seen by a healer.
By who?
A healer.
Okay. What would I look that up in, like a phone book or my doctor, or who would? I don't know what that is.
No, this is good. This is good. No, this is good. This is raw. This is.
He doesn't know.
You're an honest seeker. You're being genuine.
I'm trying to help him. He's in.
Yeah. No. I will send you some information. I am not there now, but there are healers that I can send you to, indigenous healers, right? Indigenous healers that were trained here on the mother continent. And so, so message me and I'll send you some information
please,
about that and give you their contact information.
Yeah, because if he can buy it directly from you or whatever. He said, I'm just looking for anything because I'm in pain. You know what I mean? And taking all this medicine. I don't take medication. I mean, because it doesn't, it's not natural. Let's keep it 100. It's not natural.
No, it's not. It's meant to destroy the body. It puts the body out of balance, you know, which is what it does. I am not an advocate at all for medication or anything unnatural, not at all. And I don't advise, depending on how far they've gone down that process, there's always a reversal and things that can be done differently. And you always add, no matter how far you've gone down the process, right? Talking about medication, whether he's taking shots or whatever he's doing for that health ailment he has, you can always supplement because it is natural. It comes from the earth. The earth.
Why aren't we told about it? I mean, I'm serious.
There are conversations like this going on. There are conversations like this going on. Matter of fact, I don't know, you're in Houston. I know in California, there's a really good naturopathic school. There's naturopathic medicine, which is, they are on the rise. So matter of fact, Ashton, you listened to my first episode. You listened to my first episode. In that episode, I talk about an organization, the Earth Center, just off the top of my mind. You guys can go to I think it's the earthcenter.org. You can go there and go to their page for the healers. That's easy. For someone who is new to indigenous medicine and needs like like baby steps, you know, and they need that transition, the Earth Center is good for that. And so he'll need a lot of information. He'll need a lot of coaching. Even
and he's going to ask you this question.
Look into it. So check that out.
Yeah, and he's going to ask you this question. He might ask you, is it, because you know about the FDA in this country, is the stuff that he would be going to, is it FDA approved, or how does that, what does he need to do to get help there? Does he need to show like an FDA approval card to get help? What does he need to do to get help from these doctors or what have you? Is it FDA approved so he can get help?
Okay, I don't know if there is an issue with the link.
Can you guys hear me now?
I can.
Yes.
Okay.
You
now
know,
you're back.
I can't speak for the Earth Center on that. I really, really can't. Their organization is huge. I can't speak to that. What I would do though, this is what I would do. I would, when he speaks to them on the phone, before he goes to a consultation, right, before he pays his money, he can have a conversation with someone over the phone and have his questions, reservations answered in a very simple way. And then he can decide from there, right?
Because you know, the FDA is the governing, you know, in this country as far as, you know, medicine, because they try to make sure that stuff that is made or manufactured or sent in this country, whether it's natural or not, they want to make sure what's coming into this country is not going to kill you. So the FDA is the governing body for medicine and even some natural stuff, believe it or not. And so that's why he says if it's FDA approved and you can get your stuff FDA approved, the government will pay you for that. I'm serious. That's what my boyfriend said. If that stuff works, you need to call the FDA and get that stuff approved, sister. You could be making bank over here and be living life.
And this is one of the things I told you in the chat, Ashton. I told you chasing the wrong thing. And even now you trying to get me to chase money. I don't chase money. It ain't about you. I don't chase money.
Let me tell you why. Because I was sleeping on the streets outside in a tree. You know that song where that dude say K-I-S? I was sleeping in a tree outside with no place. Ask my boyfriend. My boyfriend will tell you I was sleeping on what they call Skid Road in America. And I was sleeping out there. And this dude told me when I was sitting out there on the side of the road, he said, if you don't know how to go chase money, you won't have nothing to eat. He said, if you do not learn how to work, you're going to stay here. And that's why I chase God first, money second, because it's not fair to live in America and somebody, your daddy take care of you. Special Olympics teaches you that somebody else is going to take care of you. And that's not, I'm serious. I was used to raise $66 million, guys. And so I know what money looks like when your image is monetized to make millions across the earth. And so I chase money because I know how much money my image made for these white folks out here in America. And I want 66 million if my image, okay, amen, is going to be used to make white people rich. My grandmother told me then you better go back and make yourself rich. That is what my grandmother told me. She said, stop depending on somebody in America to give you a handout. Stop depending on living with people or gather. She said, we don't do that because if you live with people, I'm serious. I know people that live together in groups. And when that person dies, then people look stupid because they're living together and people don't know about dividends and credit and all the things that you need to survive in America. Because my grandmother told me, people ain't finna hold your hand in this country. My boyfriend said, I'm going to teach it to you. And once you learn,
I have a question that made me think about something because what your grandma had mentioned is right. Like African Americans now, we don't live together. But if I think about my great grandparents, like my my great grandparents, and all through, you know, after slavery, we had to live together. We built communities. We lived communally with 2 and 3 generations in the home.
In one house.
In one house. I will say, like on my side, on my mother's side, they're all from Alabama, mother and father's side. And you can see pictures of 3 generations living in a house. Everybody had their role. They lived, they cooked, they eat, they kept everything in house. They owned their own businesses. They didn't depend on the government. And so they did these things to make sure that, you know, their generations last.
Right.
You know, but then I think that there's a point that we got away from it. And that's why I put in the chat, like what happened, you know, what trauma happened in the family. You know, we see, say, oh, we're gonna live together. And they say, oh, no, you know, that uncle's weird, or, you know, you don't want nobody around your kids, or, you know, that.
Well, I grew up with 11 kids. I mean, we didn't have really trauma in my family. My family, we were great. I mean, we lived in a 2-story house, but what my grandmother, she understood the communal living thing, but she was like, this ain't gonna work. We're gonna build big. This is Texas. So she said, we got the land here. If we're gonna live like this, we're gonna make sure we have multiple kitchens. I've seen what y'all are talking about, how people live in one house. And I saw the black and white photos and stuff my grandmother showed me of the people huddled together in a house. And she sat there on the couch looking at me and looking at my brother and all of us, all 12 of us sitting on a set of stairs. And she said, do you want to live like this? She showed a black and white picture. And then she showed the foundation of a big old house being built. She said, or do you want to live like this? And we told her we want to live like this. And so
why? I wonder why she said that. Why? What was the difference? And like for me, I'm like, did we decide that we wanted to assimilate into the white culture so much that we want to be like that? I would like to get Priestess Haneera's opinion on this.
My grandmother told me why she said that. She said, because I don't want y'all to have a beggar's mentality. That is what my grandmother said. She said, because when you are subject to abject poverty, because that's what her picture showed, is these people living in my apartment's bigger than the things that I've seen in these pictures. This place here is over 1,000 square feet and 2 rooms and 2 full bathrooms. But I told her that the houses she described was less than 1,000 square feet. That's what she said, less than 1,000 square foot. And she had an architect come over and show us what this house looked like. Seriously, she had it built like a model house. I don't know what you want to call it, like a model. And she showed us what the little shack looks like compared to this. And she said, I'm not trying to do it because I want to look like the white man or be like the white man. I'm doing it because I'm tired of y'all living on top of one another and fighting in here. That's why she built the house big, so that we're not literally sleeping on top of each other. It was 12 of us. You can't function like that. How did people function back in the day? Literally living on top of each other like New York. Girl to the no-no.
That's a good point. That's a good point, because Priestess Haneera, you saying something? You're on mute.
I didn't even realize I was on mute, so sorry about that. So what
no,
I'm just talking and responding, y'all. Okay, so what I was gonna say is, and I was gonna put this in the chat, and like I said in the, or at least I was thinking in the chat, you know, it was going so good, and all those questions came in at the end that we would have to cover it during the discussion. And so one of the questions, and I think either Ashton or Ashley, it was you, somebody brought it up, but it talked about why, as African Americans, have we moved away from the communal living model, you know? And I think, you know, what we're seeing today is the evolution of that, right? We're the evolution or the now version of our ancestors. And so we have to go back and ask ourselves, like, what was our ancestors going through? Why would they change it? If it was such a good model, right? Priestess, if it was such a good model, why aren't we doing it now? Where was the breakdown, right? How did we stop? How did we get to the point to where we're now teaching our grandkids, you know, that this model is better and better than that model, right? How do we do that? Where we'll perpetuate this individualistic, when you're 18, you getting out, you know, move out, have your own type of mentality.
I was out.
And exactly. So listen, right? Because you live that life. So you don't know the answer. You can't know the answer because you live the opposite, right? So one thing that we have to realize is that the number one rule of life is survival, right? And we really have to stop being so insensitive to the lives that our ancestors lived. You know, it became survival. When you see somebody come, listen to me now. I mean, you down in the South, don't act like you forgot. You should never forgot. You in Texas, come on now. I know how it is in Texas. There's still places in Texas.
Hey, my grandmother showed me, but she showed me that you shouldn't have to live in a shack. I mean, these people were living with no lights and electricity. My grandmother showed me, she said, they have no lights down there. And I remember when we were a kid in Ellis County, I'm not going to lie to you, okay? Because Ellis County is racist. And I fled Ellis County for my life because they do not like African Americans. And they were trying to squat.
And I think she was going somewhere to explain about slavery and the impact that that had on our ancestors and why they did what they did and why they may push us to do other things. But she's back, so here we go. And Ashton, you have some great ideas. So let's let Priestess Haneera get her message out, and then we can talk about what she's mentioned for sure.
Right.
Okay.
So you guys bear with me. You guys know I have unstable Wi-Fi at times. So what I was saying, and I'm not sure how much of this you heard, but what I was saying was that our ancestors endured. We have a painful history in America. We have a very painful history in America. Our ancestors were beaten and killed in front of each other for speaking our own language, right? For being together, for not working, right? For any little thing. And so if we had to, whatever we had to do, I don't even want to give you an explanation, a guess, whatever we had to do to survive, we did that. And that And that became our mentality. Survival. What do I have to do to survive? What does this plantation owner, what does this slave owner, what does this government want me to do in order to survive? How is this country giving out money? How can I get money to survive? It became a matter of survival, right? And so once we would survive or have a little bit, right, we're together. We have a little bit, our families were together. We were still getting married during slavery. We were still getting married during Jim Crow. We were still getting married through all of that, right? We kept our values. We kept our culture intact as much as we could, but with every generation, there was decay. And with every generation, there was a consciousness that was lost, your African consciousness that was lost, and this new European paradigm that was picked up, because again, we're doing what we need to do to survive. And so that's what, as women, as the educators and the teachers in the home,
I guess I'm out of step. I don't do nothing at home.
Am I in? Are you guys there?
Okay. Yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's the women that hold the culture. You right? Because we educate. So when it comes to our ancestors, okay, well, you know, my child will get beat if I teach them the language. So we're not going to do that. What we're going to do is teach them how to read this Bible in English, right? They're not going to speak Mina. They're not going to speak Fungbi anymore. They're not going to speak
I have a Bible
anymore. They're going to speak English and they're going to read this Bible because this is what the slave master likes. He won't get beat if he's a good, right, scripture reader, okay? And so this is what we did. So this is how we lost. We did away with our African mind and start picking up more of a. And so with each generation, you have this decay, right? And so now you have this decay and this evolution of who we are now and what we've been made to be. And so now you have situations where you don't see the value. We are the children. We are the children of our ancestors. Us now today, we don't see the value of living communally, right? That was our African people.
I don't. I mean, I'm not going
to. We lost the value of that. What we see the value in is living separately and living big and lavish and big our home to ourselves.
That's right.
We don't see the value of taking care of our elders. We put them in a nursing home if we can, or just let them die in their house by themselves.
You shouldn't do that.
We don't take care of our elders like we used to. There's so many values.
My grandmother
built women teaching their children nothing. They send them to school. The teacher to teach them everything. There's so much education and culture that has been lost to where now you have us children, right? The children of our ancestors asking questions like, why did we stop living communally? And you know what? I'm not here to rub shade on whoever asked the question. It's actually a brilliant thing because you know what? That means that our minds are waking up.
Right.
That our minds are waking up. Like, why did we? What happened? I'm trying to shake it off. What? This seemed like
I never heard of it until today.
If you listen to the episode again separately, you know, basically what I was doing in episode 7 is I was giving you guys a survival kit for COVID. How can we survive COVID? What do we have to do for some COVID? Let me ask you this. Do you think with COVID spreading the way it is, this push for vaccines, the way that it's going and the way that the world is moving now, not just the US, but the world is moving now. You don't think there's another shutdown coming? You think that was just one shutdown and they done, right? You think that's the only change that they making? And that's you think we're gonna stay normal? No, we're not gonna do it. Not at all.
I think not.
Listen to episode.
I think you're right.
And 7 will give you the information you need. Come on, Ashton.
And you said as far as surviving COVID, my grandmother always told me all this. It doesn't matter about vaccines or what you take. It's about the 2 things that you can grab a hold of: gold and silver. And I'm serious, because gold ain't going nowhere. And when you got that in your bank account, when there is trouble and there's troubled waters, and you can make sure that you financially taken care of, my grandmother said everybody needs to pitch in their money when there is a problem. And that's another thing that people don't do in families or in groups nowadays. They don't take what they call assets, and they monetize assets. Did you know in America, your body could be an asset and you can get paid just for the photo that you take? It's a Black lady, I'm serious, with a company called Ladies First Sports Management, one of the largest companies for females. And she said, I want to teach you how to make money in your sleep and let that money work for you instead of you getting up every day slaving. That lady's wealthy because she's not sitting up here working in the morning, work in the evening, work till the sun go down. I'm serious.
Stop asking.
That lady ain't doing that. She said, I get up every day and I push this button and I look at the stock market and I look at my picture, because my picture is making more money than the stock market is for me. So she stopped putting her money in what she calls I'm sorry, the white man's market. Even hang around people my age. I hang around old people because I learn from old people. You can't learn from somebody that's in the same chasm as you, the same boat as you. And my grandmother said, if you want to be wealthy, stop hanging around poor people because poor people ain't going to help you. And I remember she took my butt down to a bank and she sat down there with me with a rich white dude. And she said, do you want this money or do you want to sit here and struggle and work at Burger King? My grandmother taught me how to use my mind. And she has taught me to this day that it's not about chasing money. What it is you're chasing a way out of poverty, utter poverty. And what my grandmother told me, nobody is going to teach you how to do that until you walk your butt into a bank and sit down and talk to somebody. Oh God, show you the way out. And my bank is doing that. And a lot of people don't, I'm serious, guys, they don't realize that there's a way out of poverty. Seriously.
Now,
and
let me tell you.
Do what your grandma say, or people will, yes.
I said it in the chat,
Go ahead.
and I'm going to echo it right here.
Mm-hmm.
Let ancestors bless your grandmother. That was a lady who taught you well. There was some things you said in the chat, and I don't know how you expected me to respond, but I said bless her, because you need to have that kind of rigor in order to raise a good child, you know? And so a lot of what your grandmother said, what you're explaining now, I'm glad she taught you that way, right? But I don't know what you guys were saying while my connection went off, but one thing I wanted to touch on that I caught before my connection left was you were talking about how COVID has affected the economy. And I know I touched on that just a little bit within the podcast.
Right.
And even to now, right? Even to now, COVID-19 has changed our very lives and the way we live economically. And I was watching this today on Bloomberg during COVID, right? So through 2020, I think it was 2019, 2020. You guys, you can pull up the exact year, but on Bloomberg,
2019, 2020.
What they said was 7.7 new millionaires were made. 7.7 new millionaires were made, right? The great divide is more than just, right, who is vaccinated and who is not, right? When America becomes more like a third world country, you better be part of the haves, because if you're part of the have-nots, which is where most Black people are, you will be chased out of society. I said it. Y'all could think I'm crazy. Well, y'all come back to this podcast in a couple years and see what I'm talking about. You understand what I'm saying? We have to economically come together. And that's one of the topics that I talk about in one of the podcasts is group economics. Group economics. You can't just live communally and not also pull your money together communally. But I will tell you this. One of the reasons that we don't come together as a Black people financially is because of all the hurt and pain from the past. We've been boosted, we've been stole from, we've been lied to. Yeah, some from the white man, but a lot has been from our own people. We've done that to each other, right? Whether it's before the crack came or after, we just have been a certain way for survival, right? And so it's people, we have to learn to trust each other again. We have to learn to have a true family, sense of family and love for each other again. We have to learn how to be honest, right? Again. And so a lot of that comes with living with each other, right? A lot of that comes with getting to know one another. I'll get to know you. I live with you. I know if I could trust you or not. I could trust you to be who you're going to be, and you will reveal yourself. Your ego will reveal yourself to me. So I say communal living first, and then within communal living, we can pool our money together. Okay. Ashley, you had a question. Go ahead.
I have a question. I mean, okay, because my boyfriend was listening, and he was like, okay, what if you with your partner, but you in a communal setting? I said, brother, I don't know how that would work. I do not know. And so he was like,
they can come
you
too.
know,
What do you mean? You guys get a house big enough to live. Let me tell you about my situation. So the way I prefer to live, I'm in Africa right now. I have my house here. We're going to be buying land and building. Why? Because there's going to be Africans just like you all over America that want to get the hell up out of America. Excuse my French. Y'all know I don't cuss all like that. So you guys are going to want to leave America. And when you do, you got to have somewhere to go. You just can't move to no country, even though it's in our blood, even though it's in our DNA, even though it is who we are. We can't go to a country where we don't know nobody, you know. So I'm doing some foundational footwork for those who want to say, come visit and observe, see how Africa is, come visit, repatriate, you know. I'm here doing that work also. So I have my house here. But in America, right? In America, I live in a big home full of different families. Some people are single. There's some couples. There's some women with children. And we live together under our African.
And you trust all these people that they won't, because my grandmother did that. She had a house and she wanted to have people live there. And she noticed stuff coming up missing, statues, clothes, her pants. She was like, wait a minute. And so she started doing background checks on people. So I don't know how
people. Please tell me it wasn't Craigslist. Where was Granny getting these people?
She was helping. They didn't have Craigslist back then on the internet. My grandmother didn't use the internet. She was helping them because a lot of them was at the churches and whatnot and stuff. And so some of them weren't as honest as you would think. And my grandmother helped a lot of people in the community, not even just living, but she helped people with different things. And the biggest thing was she noticed, she said if they need it, they can take it or whatever, but she noticed that there were people taking more than what they were supposed to or things like that. And so my grandmother was a good person, and she would go up to the church and help out there because they had a big place at that church for those people to stay up there. And so communal living works, but before you do that, you better do background checks and stuff like that, and all that kind of stuff, or you let people live with you in a house.
And I agree with you, careful. But you got to remember who you're talking to, baby. I'm a priest, so I'll do a background check on you for sure. I'm gonna do a spiritual background check and see what's going on with you spiritually, what you bring in, what you can do to the family before you even do it. We're gonna see if this is gonna be a good mix or what. Right before you even got a chance to creep in my daughter's bedroom, I didn't already seen it coming. And all we said was, you know what, the house isn't gonna accept you at this time, or that, you know, right now we're not looking for someone right now. Come on now. I mean, I'm not saying, you know, you just let anyone in, or like I said, go on Craigslist. What I'm suggesting is that like-minded people, you have to pick your tribe. And I don't know if I said that in the chat. It was one of the sentences that I was is that you have to pick your tribe. You have to come together with people who are like-minded. Now, mind you, ideally, naturally, when you go to nature and the way it is designed with the cosmos, this would normally be your family. Feel me, hear me out. This would normally be the people who you share blood with.
Your family.
But because of our situation, because this world is so upside down, sometimes you have to branch out and find your family with other people, right? Find your family with like-minded individuals who have the same ideology, think the same. You guys know I can't speak today. That's the second word that I done messed up. But you get with people who have the same thinking as you. You guys have the same values. You guys live by the same principles. You know, those types of things. Those are at the fundamental. And so whenever tension does rise in the house, and I'm speaking from experience, not just from what my elders taught me at their feet here in Africa, but speaking from experience, living communally for years, you know, it will be, first off, tense moments is gonna happen. Y'all gonna argue, somebody's gonna bump heads.
I would think. I don't live alone by myself. Did she cut out?
Okay, sorry about that.
I think she's back.
Okay, I thought I pressed something. My bad.
So
Is it back on?
Can you guys hear me?
Okay. Now we can. Okay.
Okay, where did I leave off? I was sitting up here trying to reset my computer. I was in mid talking and it cut out, and we only got 9 minutes left. So we'll finish up with this one. And then if you guys want, we can finish the dialogue in the chat group. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, for those of you who are watching on the internet, wherever you're watching from, I didn't greet you, but hello, welcome.
Yes.
I would challenge you to figure out what that really means in a traditional African sense, because I thought the same way. I'm so mannish. I'm, bullish. I exert my will. I'm strong. I don't do certain these housewife things. I thought that at first, and I thought that made me masculine. But in learning African traditions and culture and spirituality, I learned that actually I'm a lot more feminine than I thought. And all of those strengths that were bottled up in some confused pattern, that
and you guys, I got a plan. I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me? Time out.
Yeah.
You guys don't, I don't know how long my internet connection is going to be going. So I'm just trying to jump in where I can. I did hear you guys talking about gender. And so one thing I will say really quick, because you guys know, I don't know how long I'm going to be stable. And Ashley, you could close out if I cut off. But one thing I'll say about gender when it comes to African traditions, specifically, because you have to remember the sect within African traditions that I study. I practice voodoo, which originated in Benin. And this is where I was initiated, right?
Okay.
So understanding voodoo, right? Understanding voodoo, and it is a science of the elements, of the 4 elements. And within that science, we understand that everything is masculine and feminine. Everything has masculine and feminine within it, and everything is a variant of that. So even you being born in your gender of a woman, right? You have a uterus, you have, all of the components to make you a woman. That is just your physical. We haven't even talked about your mental gender. We haven't even talked about the entities and the unseen aspects and entities, spirits and divinities that make you up. What if your head spirit is a man, right? What if your head spirit, what does that look like for a second? Just think about it. You have a woman body, but you have a spirit, a masculine spirit in the mind. This is what we understand as science.
That's what a pastor told me.
Our traditions.
A pastor told me that. A pastor at the church told me that.
You're welcome here. However you say identify, you're welcome. Why? Because you are all my children. Basically, you all come from Mother Earth.
Okay.
I'm an initiate from the Divine Mother. That's why I can use her banner and speak so boldly and so proudly.
Okay.